Hey guys, starting from this episode, I'm going to introduce you to Norse mythology. And let's start with the creation of the Norse cosmos. Different civilizations have different creation myths. In the Cthulhu mythos, the world originated with the blind idiot god Azathoth, who in his mindless chaos and aimless dancing, created the three gods, Nyarlathotep, Shub-Niggurath, and Yog-Sothoth. The three gods created the universe's life, time, space, and civilization with their own original will. In Egyptian mythology, the creation began when the sun god Ra got his name, and directly created the entire world, establishing the 9 gods as the core of the pantheon. In Hindu mythology, the creator god Brahma created the world. The protector god Vishnu maintained the operation of the world. And then, the destroyer god Shiva destroyed the corrupted world, thus achieving an endless and eternal cycle of reincarnation. These mythologies are magnificent and philosophical. And the creation of the world in Norse mythology combines the characteristics of these mythologies. In the purest beginning of the Norse mythology, everything was chaotic and formless. For some unknown reason, void was torn in the chaos. This void divided the chaotic universe in two, like a huge gap. Because of the emergence of this huge void, the entire universe began to show two extremes. The north side of the rift was called the Misty Land, which was rich in water vapor and constantly filled with mist. And there was an inexhaustible spring, with void water constantly gushing out from it. The void water kept dispersing and gathering, forming 11 wide rivers. Far away from the spring, the river water would condense into huge glaciers near the rift. On the other side of the rift, the material land was, in contrast, the fire land, where there was an eternally burning flame. Unlike the Misty Land, the first eternal fire giant, Surtur, was born here. Surtur's divinity was burning, destruction, and the return of all rules to the eternal and peaceful void. He had a flame sword formed by the purest destruction in the world, capable of destroying the entire world. This sword will be the divine weapon that appears at the end of the Norse mythology, Ragnarok, and the fire giant Surtur will use it to destroy the structure of the world. With the passage of time, a marvelous rhythm gradually emerged from the interweaving of ice and fire. A life was unexpectedly bred in the rift, which was a giant even bigger than the world. This giant was the frost giant, Ymir. Ymir was a giant born in the mist of ice and fire, the ancestor of all giants. Born at the same time as this giant was a huge cow named Audumbla. In this chaotic world of ice and fire, the primal giant Ymir survived by feeding on the cow's milk. The cow licked the salt grains on the ice, continuously producing milk. After the frost, giant Ymir had had enough milk. He fell into a deep sleep. In his sleep, the frost giant gave birth to the wise giant Mimir, the giantess Bestla, and many other giants. From then on, the giant race kept growing with the nourishment of the milk of the huge cow. While the cow was licking the salt grains on the ice, a human shape unexpectedly appeared in the ice. The man licked out of the ice by the cow was named Buri. He was the ancestor of all gods. Among Buri's descendants was an Aesir god, Bor, who married the giantess Bestla, the daughter of the giant race. They had 3 children, namely Odin, Vili, and Ve. They had a strong sense of the whole world since birth. As they grew older, the sense became even stronger. At that time, the world was only filled with the endless void. And in the void, ice and fire kept intertwining, in the Ginnungagap, with only the sleeping frost giant Ymir and the chaotic, milk-drinking giant race. One day, the 3 Odin brothers suddenly realized that they should create a material world. They could no longer suppress their inner desire to create creatures. Although they had giant blood, their divine nature urged them to create the world. So the 3 Odin brothers came to their grandfather, the frost giant Ymir. The huge Ymir looked at the 3 young gods and said, "Little guys, what do you want? I can feel your surging desire for creation, and I also know that you are different from my pure-blooded children. You not only have the power of giants, but also something different from other giants. The three Odin brothers looked at their grandfather Ymir and said, "Great Frost, giant ancestor, you possess infinite power and an endless body. Your heart is hotter than the flames of the fireland, and your blood is more abundant than the water vapor of the misty land. We have your bloodline, but we are also gods. The will of immortality brings us the desire to create the world. Now, grandfather, great frost giant ancestor, please allow us to ask you to create the world. Only your infinitely great body as a sacrifice can summon that rich and beautiful world." After saying these words, the three Odin brothers fell silent. They looked up at the frost giant ancestor Ymir, and although the three Odin brothers were tall gods, they could not see the whole face of the frost giant ancestor Ymir. "My children, the beginning of life will eventually lead to the final destruction. I was born from ice and fire, now have given birth to countless children, and the world is still so lifeless. Pure power cannot create all things, and the emergence of the world requires a magnificent sacrifice. Come on, let me create the world as a sacrifice. I will be reborn from this." After saying this, the frost giant Ymir stooped down, and the three Odin brothers cut off the frost giant Ymir's throat. The three Odin brothers used the life of the frost giant Ymir as a sacrifice to open the door to creating the world. The blood gushing from the frost giant's neck filled the void, and even the tall giants were drowned in it. The bloody blood drowned almost all the giants, and only a few giants survived. The three Odin brothers began to create the world with the body of the frost giant Ymir. They made Ymir's head into the sky, his brains into clouds, his body into the earth, his blood into the ocean, his bones into the mountains, and his hair into trees. As time went on, Ymir's body began to rot and breed maggots. The maggots, on the bright side, turned into beautiful and kind elves, while the maggots born on the dark side became skilled dwarves who were good at mining. Odin ordered 4 strong dwarves to support the 4 corners of the sky, and Ymir's eyebrows were used to make a wall to surround Midgard. Then Odin caught the flames of the fireland, turned them into stars, moon, and sun, and formulated the operation of the 4 seasons. When all this was done, the 3 Odin brothers walked happily in this world. They suddenly found that although the world was created, it lacked vitality. So they picked up driftwood by the sea and carved it into a man, and carved it into a woman with elm wood. Odin gave them life, soul, power, reason, and action, while Ve gave them emotion, appearance, and language. These 2 humans were the ancestors of all humans, arranged by the gods to live in Midgard. At this time, the Norse mythology world was divided into 3 layers: upper, middle, and lower. In each layer, there were 3 unconnected worlds, each with a major ethnic group, establishing a kingdom. So the most important ethnic groups appeared in the world: the Aesir gods, the Vanir gods, the elves, the dwarves, the humans, and the frost giants. In addition, there was a place where the dead souls belonged, and the Fireland, where the powerful fire giant Surtur existed. And connecting the 9 worlds and providing the source of life for the whole world was the World Tree. The World Tree was the source of life in the whole world, the guardian and promoter of the growth of all things. The original World Tree had 3 strong roots, which went deep into the 3 springs of the world, absorbing the energy of the world. The Norse world was thus created by the 3 Odin brothers, with the frost giant Ymir as the sacrifice. And it was precisely because Odin and the others used sacrifices to create the world, that the basic rules and development of the entire Norse century would revolve around the law of sacrifice and price. After creating the world, if any gods, humans, elves, or giants wanted to obtain a certain powerful force, or envision a certain result, they had to use an equal price as a sacrifice to achieve it. In the end, The world created with the body of the frost giant Ymir would return to the eternal void again, entering a new cycle. Well, that's it for this episode of Norse mythology. Your subscription will really determine the length of this series, so I hope you can subscribe and like it. Your subscription will be the driving force for my update. So see you next time for Norse mythology. Bye.